Hello, and welcome to the Josh Brown Podcast. With over 40 years of combined financial planning experience serving high net worth clients, we will discuss our favorite topics, concepts, and stories.
Hello, and welcome back to the Josh Brown Podcast. I'm Philip Saunders. We have Dan Joss and Michelle Robinson as well. And today we're going to be talking about buying cars.
Great.
So, you guys excited?
I'm excited because I'm not buying a car now, so I'm excited.
That's right. It's a stressful and painful process.
It's a large expense.
Yeah, it's an important one. Yeah.
It's an important one for new college grads looking to get to their work. It's an important one.
Yeah, for college grads looking to sell their Avalon and move up to a RAV4 or something like that.
So you just went through that process, Philip. Did you enjoy it?
No.
Why not?
No, I didn't enjoy it. No, I think people know it's not necessarily fun. It can be, I think, but for me, it's just a lot of things to juggle. Where to buy the car from, what car to buy, how much to finance, should I pay cash, all those things.
Should you?
It's a lot of things.
Yeah, and then
Did you consider a lease?
I didn't, no.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
Well, I think the conventional wisdom is, and you guys tell me if you disagree, is that if you're planning on having the car for maybe 2 or 3 years or more, then you might consider buying a car. And if it's 2 years or less, then leasing might be a good option. So that's kind of how I thought of it. So
Yeah, that's the wisdom that I know behind it.
yeah.
But everybody's situation sometimes determine why you lease versus why not leasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you leased in the past?
I have leased in the past. I've leased my Honda 2017 in the past. And so my lease was a 2 to 3 year lease. And so just know that within that 2 year or 3 year span, you have to decide what you're going to do. If you need a new car, do you need to pay that one off? Do you need to renew the lease? Or what exactly are you going to do? Because when the 2 year or the 3 years over, you might be carless.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of a trombone I used to play on. We leased it, and then I don't know if it was 2 years or how long it was, but then they offered for us to buy it, and it was cheap enough to where my mom said, yeah, let's buy it. So same thing with cars, I guess.
Yeah, I eventually pay off my car when the 3 year expires because now I was a financial advisor. I knew all the things that I should know at that particular point. And so once I saved during that 2 year, I decided to pay off the car. So now I own a car without any debt. And so what I did was the wisdom that I learned from Dan is even though I no longer have a car payment and I was paying that lease, it was already in my budget. Just use that to save for my future car purchase, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the last few cars I've paid cash for, but I keep saving to an account for my next car because you'll probably have 20 cars in your lifetime.
Yeah, it varies too. I mean, I've had some clients come and say, this is my 4th car in my lifetime. It's like, wow, like, how do you make that work? But some of our clients will just go out and,
they get a good
buy a new car.
And they get lucky.
That is true. Yeah. Luck's a part of it. Yep.
Yeah.
So we recommend clients be able to pay cash for a car, and then interest rates and cash flow and other things may make it so that they don't want to pay cash for a car. But if they are able to pay cash for a car, then that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Rarely, over the last 25 years, rarely have I had clients lease cars. Maybe a handful of clients.
Yeah, and so when you basically check to make sure that they're able to pay cash, why is that? Is that because you want them to be kind of solvent and able to pay that car off if needed?
Yeah, because we make a lot. When you borrow, you make a lot of assumptions about the future. Like you'll continue to be having money come in to make the payment.
Right, yeah. Continue to have a job.
So I think this week one of the the car company was laying off 14% of their employees. We've just come through lots of tech companies laying off 5, 10, 15% of their employees. So it's and actually back in the 90s, the military was laying off 15 or 20% of their workforce. So it's not guaranteed.
Not unheard of, yeah.
And so if you commit to, I think the average is now 7 years, $800 car loan.
I think most people
So
push for 7 years.
If you commit to making a car payment of $800 for the next 7 years, and a year from now you're out of work, that's a
What are you gonna do?
it's a big. Where if you just pay $30,000 for the car, it's like, who cares if I don't have my job? I still have my car, and I can use that car to help me look for another job.
Yeah. And I think something I catch myself in too is, well, I've got that $800 car payment, not personally, but, in this situation, this scenario, I've got that $800 car payment. Well, if something happens and I lose my job, I'll just sell the car, right?
It may or may not be worth.
It depends on the market.
You may not be able to get
If you're underwater,
even close to what you normally.
2 years ago
originally
during COVID, cars were worth a lot more than people paid for it. But that's
Right,
That's
yeah.
usually not the case.
And even so, many people weren't selling their car; they were holding on to it.
Well, that's happening
right,
now
yeah.
with the housing market.
Yes.
I'm going to keep my house in my sub 3% interest mortgage, and not buy new, and so that limits the housings that are out there too. So it's the same issue.
Absolutely.
Most of our clients want to not have a mortgage payment when they retire, because they feel that that money's not coming in, so it's not going out.
Sure.
I just kind of connect that. I like that feeling with the car too. Once I drive it off the lot, it's mine.
But I recently read somewhere where while it's okay to get a car loan, a housing loan, like a mortgage loan, because the asset is appreciating, it's not good wisdom to get a loan on a car because the asset isn't appreciating but depreciating. So I read that recently.
Yeah, and that's kind of goes off the conventional wisdom of there's good debt and bad debt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, if you have debt for depreciating assets, that's considered bad debt. And if you have debt for a house, then that's good debt. I don't necessarily agree, and our job is to just point out, hey, here's the implications of assuming debt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a wonderful
And I
feeling.
remember buying a house in 2007, and it didn't appreciate for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
When it was worth less than I paid for it 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Because 2008 came along and crushed the house. So again, that's an assumption we make about the future,
Mm-hmm.
that houses will appreciate. Well, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe over the long run, but not over the short run.
Right. And there are some things that I realize that people don't consider when they're deciding about buying a car. They don't consider the maintenance. They don't consider property tax if you live in a state with property tax, because the newer your car is, the more your property tax you're going to pay. And so if you have a Mercedes, you can't go to the auto shop on the block. You have to take it to the dealer, which is more cost to you. So there are some things that when you consider purchasing a car, you need to include all of that into the thought process of getting a car. The maintenance, the property tax, your insurance also will go up. So those are some
That's right.
costs to consider.
I say buy a Toyota.
They hold their value.
No, there's a lot of
Because
good
they'll
car.
always appreciate.
Yeah, I know.
And they never have any maintenance issues.
I've learned differently. No, it's not that. But yeah, Dan and I were talking, and it's the total cost, total life cycle cost of ownership of a car,
Yeah.
which will include that maintenance.
There's some good luxury vehicles out there that are several years old because they did have a lot of depreciation, but they still have a lot of maintenance in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mentioned this last week to somebody. The luxury cars typically have things on them because they're luxury, like the window shade on the windows, that can break, and those aren't on the non-luxury vehicles. So there's more things that could possibly go wrong with
Just
a luxury
little,
car.
little things attached. Sure.
And those little things usually have a big price.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
Because not every shop knows how to fix all those things. Where lower cost cars are more normal, and every shop knows how to fix normal things.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. I guess the last thing maybe is loans. You know, should you take out a car loan or should you pay cash? We kind of hit on that earlier. What are the main things you guys kind of think about when you're looking at that?
Cash flow, committing to some monthly payment for however long it is, and the opportunity cost. What else could you be doing with this money? So, I mean, a reason not to pay cash for a car is because I could keep my money in the stock market and do better. Maybe.
That involves some assumptions
Maybe,
as well.
yeah. Over the short run, maybe not, but over the long run, maybe.
Yeah.
I just like the feeling of ownership without debt.
Right.
But I have my emergency fund. Why should I use it to buy a car?
Yeah, and right now they're making 5% on cash. So, well, typically interest rates go together.
Mm-hmm.
So if interest rates on my cash balance is higher, interest rate on my mortgage, on my car loan may be higher too.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, what are they now, 8%?
I think 7 to 8%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, that wasn't true a couple of years ago when they were 3%.
That's right.
Rates have gone up for everything, for savers and for debtors.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Anything else you guys want to add?
Notice we didn't talk about anything about what kind of car, what color of car, and all the things that we see, and those are all emotional
And that,
decisions.
yeah. And those are the things you normally think about most anyways. Yeah.
And we obsess over when this is, the finance part of it is arguably the most important part of it.
Yeah.
Right, but what tips would you give someone if they do have to get a loan for a car? What did you do that you think you did well, and what could you have done differently if you have to go through the process again? If you are recommending someone get a loan.
Yeah, just making phone calls around at different banks.
Mm-hmm.
The dealership says that they reach out to a lot of banks,
Mm-hmm.
but when I pressed, he said he only had reached out to, I think, Citibank.
Mm-hmm.
And so that rate was higher than what it was at the local credit unions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, before you buy your car, check around and just see what the rates are and, just kind of know the process of how to get a loan. And then you'll have more information in your back pocket for when you're at the dealership and making that decision.
Yeah, and I would say to run your own credit and then know what you can afford, and then seek a loan based upon what you can afford. So, not necessarily try to get a loan from the dealer because their loan is going to be higher than if you went to a credit union or something like that. So that's part of what I would say to someone who's looking for a loan for a vehicle. Run your own score, know it, and seek your own approval by knowing how much you can afford. So when you walk in, then if they're trying to upsell you, then you're like, no, this is where my budget is, and this is where I can afford, and I'm not going above that because I don't want this payment of the loan change my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was not, you said upsell.
They'll convince you can afford more.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you try
And
the
then-
lowest to bank?
And then they'll do I'm sorry?
Did you try the bank that has the lowest interest rate?
I did. Yeah.
And your parents said no?
Oh, is that? Yeah, no, they didn't. I knew I was on my own for that one.
Bank
yeah.
and mom and dad didn't want to
Yeah,
help.
that's right. Yeah, I know I was on my own for that one.
Did you ask?
No.
Oh, you got to
I
ask.
mean, if yeah.
You want to do this on your own.
Yeah, you gotta.
Good job.
Yeah, brothers start chiming in. There'll be comments.
And they'll probably say you need to get used to adulting.
Sure, sure, exactly. Yeah. First it's the phone plan, then it's the insurance, and car payments and all that. You were talking about upselling. The other thing they'll try is downselling. They'll you say, oh well, let's talk about the price of this particular car, and you'll try to work them down a little bit, and they say, oh well, if that's the price you're looking for, I've got this awesome, and it's like a lower model, a cheaper car, and so that's the other way they'll work. So that, they
You
know
want
how
the
to
same
play
money,
the game.
but for a lesser value
So
car.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why when you say know the process, it's important to know the process. Because I remember when I was doing my lease, I walk in with a number. that I was planning to pay on a monthly basis. And
Yeah.
so I have a Honda HRV, and they were trying to give me the Honda CRV. And I said, if you could give it to me for that price, I'll take it. But beyond that, we are not having a
Interesting.
discussion. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So,
I don't really know the
so
difference.
you had the monthly payment in mind.
Yes.
Did you have how many months you had in mind too? Or
No, I just knew how much I wanted to pay per month. That
96
will
months
not
is
change
different
my
than
life.
48 months.
Yeah. So that was it. I was just like, this is the price point.
You may have subconsciously said no more than 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. But they know that, if you come in with a payment, then they know that they can work that out.
Yep.
Or if you come in with a total price, then they know, oh, let's switch out a car.
Yeah,
so-
but I went in knowing that I wanted a red car, and so they couldn't show me anything else. So I knew the
okay.
color
So they-
I wanted as well.
They already
So
got it.
so they were limited on a red car.
Yeah. And that's why these other companies are cool, like CarMax, Carvana.
What would you do
It's like
differently?
you just throw all that out the window.
What would I do differently? What I
I
would
mean,
do
you
differently.
leased a car, or you
I leased a car and then
leased
paid
a car,
off. Mm-hmm.
then you paid it off. Now you own your car. What will you do differently next time, if anything?
What I'll do differently next time now is I'm saving towards buying the car. So when the time comes, I'll look at my opportunity costs and see if it's worth getting a loan. And hopefully they have like a 0% loan. Hopefully. I know it's not out there. But if they do, then I'll look to see what would be the best route. But what I love is that now I have better options than I did in the past. And I know more now so that I can do better this
So
time around.
you've got you have a car fund.
Yes.
So you have some flexibility.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it true that red cars' cost of insurance is higher than white cars or tan cars?
No, because
Not
people
true.
people said that red cars is going to get pulled over by the cops, and
No, I was talking
That's
about
right.
cost
I've
of
not
insurance.
got
Doesn't matter.
right. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you haven't gotten pulled over yet?
No.
There
No.
you go.
There you go. So yeah. So everybody have their own little myth and things that they say. It's just not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing I'd do differently is I think I'll still go to a dealership, but there's different types of dealerships. There are some that'll like really work you on the price, and they won't really give you a price until you come in and see the car and all that. And then there's some that'll just give you the price right over the phone. Say, this is our price, this is what we have to have. And that's the kind of dealership I'll go to next. I may pay a little more than I would have, but just the experience, You're not sitting there in the chair and getting haggled down and all that stuff.
Yeah, not the
you know?
last car that I bought, but the car before that, I did everything over email. I said, I see this
Did that
car.
work? Yeah.
How much is it? How low can you go? And there was a back and forth on email. Then I said, I'll see you this afternoon.
Okay.
I've never
So maybe that's another way to do it. Yeah.
I've never
I can consider
experienced this, but probably Dan can speak
Because they
to
bump
it.
you through the manager, and they said,
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh my gosh.
do it all through email. I'll check my email in a couple hours or tomorrow and see what you got for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never done this, but Dan may can speak to it or may not. But I've heard in the past that if you have cash, you have more buying power because you could go in there and you could say, this is the cash that I have and this is all I have. And then most times people say that they get a lower price because they have cash. So have you experienced that?
I don't think that's true. I mean,
I think it depends on the dealership.
you can check all these things online,
depends on it,
but
yeah.
if it's what the traditional car sales person wants to do is make money on the car, make money on the financing, and make money on the trade-in. And if you're taking those away from them, then they're going to not negotiate on what they got left.
Got you.
But there's all kinds of theories around that.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll take your cash, but you're not going to get the ability to negotiate the most for the things you want on the car, because that's the only thing they have left. Which is why I like those places where there's the car and the price,
Yeah.
and
It
the
cuts a lot of
salesmen
that
are
out.
incented to sell you any car, not a more expensive car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
How about that?
Yeah.
I'm saving up.
I think we covered it all.
I'll have the ability to pay cash for my next car, and I'll know what the insurance will cost, and I'll know what the mileage we'll get, and
Don't forget your property taxes. We do live in Virginia.
and Williamsburg. They get you too.
They will. They will.
All right, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Josh Brown Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Josh Brown Podcast. If you'd like to see more episodes, visit our website at joshbrown.com.